pretty much.
All right. Today is Tuesday, January 15th, 10 a.m., the Economic Development Committee. We do not have a quorum here, so officially we can't open the meeting or close it or do any official actions, but there's enough out there where we're going to continue with an informal meeting here for informational purposes. So, is there any objection to starting it with the pledge, like we normally start our normal meetings?
No objection.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so the first thing I want to touch upon is the Farmer Forum. We had a meeting in December, and we had a great attendance, and I want to first thank the Dudley Grange for hosting us. We weren't sure whether to expect 6 people or 30 people, and it ended up being like 30 people showed up. Mark, thank you for coming. Ellen came as well. And what we basically had was, a cross-segment of the farming population in Dudley with a lot of land, looking for, what to do and how to rejuvenate those lands. It was a great showing, great feedback from everybody. One of the follow-up items is going to occur this Thursday, January 17th at 6:30. We have the Mass Department of Agricultural Resources coming into Town Hall, and the department that's in charge of the hemp program and the industrial hemp program are going to come here to talk about Massachusetts and the state regulations. Also, how does the town of Dudley and its farmers partner with the state and the federal government? The farm bill that was that just passed about 2 weeks ago, I believe, made industrial hemp legal as a normal agricultural commodity. So the federal government now looks at industrial hemp as the same as corn or cotton or soybeans, but there's still stuff on the books with mass. And so we're going to try to give our farmers as much information as they possibly can get, answer questions, and see if Dudley can be at the forefront of this effort. So again, that's this Thursday, January 17th, 6:30, right here in this room. The next thing we were going to talk about was the mill redevelopment.
Hey, John, before you go on, I wanted to just make a comment about kind of what I saw that day as well. Being involved in public service, let's call it, planning board, et cetera, for a number of years, I never saw a more involved group that got together that morning that you pulled them all together at the Grange. I think that being the town that we are, Dudley, with all the agriculture, I think that has been a lost opportunity, and I think a lot of the farmers have just kind of resigned themselves to the fact that, farming is over, it's done, it's, we're getting by doing what we're doing. But by the end of the meeting that we had, I could just sense the enthusiasm and the excitement that they had to actually see that someone was supporting and fostering their best interests. And I think that the word is going to spread very rapidly. So I'm hoping that the 30 we saw will turn into 60 and maybe more of those who said, I'm not going to attend that meeting because it's just another one of those rah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But you have really started something great, I think, and I hope that everyone believes, because it really can happen here. And I think you were saying that 1 acre of growing hemp can yield about $100,000 in revenue, which is incredible. So anyway, just wanted to share my comments, being on the board for a short period of time. I love the follow through and the the go-to-itness that you have to make this happen. So congrats on that.
I appreciate that, Mark. I mean, Don, did you have any feedback on the Farmers Forum? What'd you think?
Well, I just thought it was tremendous that we got, the turnout that we got, and the enthusiasm. I second Mark on that. And I'm very hopeful for a future as an economic development incentive.
You know, I think it's been dormant here. I mean, we look at, right, almost a third of our land is agriculturally protected. And I think Mark hit it right on the head when he said, you know, a lot of the farmers have resigned themselves that, all right, maybe the best I can do with my land these days is hay it. I mean, machinery is expensive, right? Help's expensive. You have the weather issues. I mean, all these challenges.
If we really get going, there's opportunities. You said machinery. There's the opportunity to share machinery.
Exactly, right? So, you know, an individual farm by itself has an amazing uphill battle to climb. It's almost like pushing water uphill. But you take that farm, unite them with 30 other farmers in a common mission, and sharing equipment and resources, and if we can partner with the state and federal government. I mean, someone had said that at one point, Dudley, during the colonial times, was almost like the hemp capital of New England. And I thought that was ironic that here we are, maybe about to do full circle, right? I mean, there's a reason why these mills are here. And it's because that's where they processed it into clothing. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the farmers, because if we can get our farmers first financially stable and give them breathing room, and then the ability to invest and reinvest in themselves, I think there's going to be an opportunity. Well, let me backstep one more. It's like the gold rush, right? The federal government is projecting that the industrial hemp industry is going to go from $0 today to $22 billion by 2022.
Short period of time.
Right? So there's going to be a gold rush. But the people that made the long-term money during the gold rush were the guys that sold the picks and the shovels to all the gold miners. And so if Dudley can help our farmers, right, first take advantage of the initial gold rush, but create something that's lasting and sustaining, whether it's the seed creation, right, the processing, those types of things with hemp, I think that's a longer term. But at the end of the day, it's all up to them. But I think knowing what the rules are, partnering very closely with the state and federal government, can give the state an incubator here to try new ideas. You know, maybe there is a grant that they can create so that our farmers can get equipment to share. So I'm excited about it, and to see all these guys excited about it, and again, you know, I think as time goes on, you know, the idea of the Agricultural Commission, you know, holding a lot of their meetings at the Grange, it'll breathe new life into the Grange as well. So I'm excited.
Yeah, good stuff.
The next thing I just want to talk about was the mill redevelopment, Stevens. Just coincidental, yesterday, they're still working on their economic feasibility for that mill. And I had a very long conversation with the company that they hired to assess the economic feasibility of doing that plan. And I mean, I could tell the guy was excited. I mean, we went through Oxford, we went through Webster, we went through, you know, 30 minutes, you know, 45-minute commute times. Right now, I would just say it's still very encouraging. And the feasibilities, you know, people that were doing the study asked a lot of the right questions. You know, if I was going to invest my money, those are the kind of questions that I'd want. And I really think that one of the biggest things that's going to help that mill complex is our IPG photonics right across the line in Oxford. And then I showed them the piece that Dickie Andrelevitz has been working and clearing that will eventually be some sort of economic, you know, whether it's, you know, commercial, light industrial, office parks, whatever. So I'm encouraged. So it's still going on. So it's not dead, which is a good thing. The next thing, and Don, maybe do you want to talk about the community development strategy meeting that will take place on January 23rd? And I'll preface that by saying I had a meeting with Don and CMRPC a couple of days ago. And there's a lot happening in town as far as grants and studies. One of them is an EEA grant that we'll talk about. This next one is in line with the Community Development Block Grant, right?
That's what this,
All right, and so we'll have Don talk about this meeting with the planning board on the 23rd, and then there's the Complete Streets Program. So, Don, why don't you give them some background on the community development strategy, and maybe we can
community development strategy is based on long-term goals and objectives of what the town will need in terms of upgrading and there's making future improvements for development of the community. Actually, just the way it sounds. And we're looking at in the first phase this year. We're looking to make an application, which we hope will be approved. An application to do a planning and sort of study for what needs to be actually done in terms of engineering to upgrade the sidewalks, the sewer and water facilities, drainage, to make improvements that'll be in the public, will help the public health and the economic health of the town, particularly at this time in the areas of Brandon Street and between Brandon Street and Schofield Ave, in the area between Schofield Ave and West Main Street and the Stevens Mill.
All right. And I was looking at the draft goals here, and just for the benefit of people at home. So it looks like the goal number 1 is the infrastructure improvements, which is in line with the economic development plan, that's our number 1 challenge. And so I believe it said assess public works, infrastructure such as water, sewer, drainage, pavement surfaces, including sidewalks, especially in the historic densely built neighborhoods along the east side of town, and develop and implement an improvement plan. And then as part of that, as well as inventory dams in the town for safety and possible repair or restoration, adopt a complete streets policy to improve pedestrian, bike, and recreational walkways. And then explore a pedestrian-friendly link between Nichols and the West Main Street area. And as part of that will be the Complete Streets program that we're going to need someone on the Economic Development Committee to really kind of own that one, because there's a course that is required for that. The Board of Selectmen right now, I guess, has a policy before them. And what Complete Streets is, right, traditionally streets have just been for cars, but you also have bicycles, and you have the sidewalks that are a part of that. And you look at the sidewalks in town, especially, say, from the Webster line all the way to Park and Shop, they're in really bad shape. They're not ADA compliant, there's ruts, you see wheelchairs getting stuck in them. And so that's part of this community development strategy too, is to access for disabled persons, looking at complete and implement an ADA self-evaluation and transition plan. But there's some really good goals here. And my understanding is that the planning board is going to take point on this particular grant.
Be a presentation on next week, Thursday, yes.
So next Thursday, the 23rd?
Right.
At what time?
7:15.
What time?
7:15.
7:15.
Meeting starts at 7, that'll start at 7:15.
All right. And so I would encourage anybody at home, if you have input or ideas on how to make Dudley a better place and things that need to be improved, that's definitely the forum to do it. And it's multi-phase. I did take some notes. So they did say that, let's see, study public infrastructure, Jericho to Pine Street. It can't work on major roads, right?
Can't work on state highways.
Yeah, can't work on the state highways, this particular grant. But what this would do is, it's like the first step in order to put together a real comprehensive application for a major funding grant. So if you take all these little pieces, get them done, then at that point, you can go for those multi-million-dollar projects with the state that you always hear other towns getting awarded.
This phase is a planning grant to work up to that, and get the engineering established and all and so forth, to actually do the work.
Yeah, and the nice thing is, no cost to the town, all grants. So you've done a great job as far as finding these grants and these things to get them done, so that our taxpayers don't have to absorb it. Excuse me. Is there anything else you'd like to add on the community development side?
Well, the point of community development, it's a starting point. We're starting those areas adjacent to, adjacent to the town line and north and south of West Main Street, essentially.
Okay. And then the next grant that we were awarded there is the EEA grant, which is the Energy and Environmental Affairs Planning Assistance Grant. And that is actually a dual award to Webster Dudley to help build the corridor, basically from the Webster line. You know, it's where the Dudley and Webster area meet. And let's see, it's a pool of money. I think it's like $35,000 for the actual study itself. It'll involve sitting down with Webster, with Dudley. It can cover anything that we want it to cover, from land uses, infrastructure, anything that connects Dudley to Webster. So possibly even the sewer treatment plant.
Whatever it takes to coordinate the means to promote economic development.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting at the end of all this. It'd be nice to get a nice pool of money to do a major overhaul of the sewer system, get that upgraded.
Right.
And have nice roadways and sidewalks.
Right. Don't forget the DLTA money too. That ties into that as well.
That's right.
That's what we got to take a look at the 3 map areas and 1 policy area. What it came down to. So that all figures in there too. We get the area in the vicinity of the Stevens Mill, also the area along Schofield Ave, a link between the what was it called, Dudley Shopping Plaza or Airport Plaza, whatever the actual name is, and Nichols.
Yeah.
And then the other area we're looking at is the functional area of agriculture, which of course we've made a lot of progress on. That's all tied into that pool of funding and resources as well.
And it makes, I don't know, makes perfect sense, you know. Kerry did reach out to me to try to get details from when we were on the planning board about 20 years ago when we had Walmart come into town for that distribution center. So she wants me to summarize up, because there was talk back then of taking exit 3 off of 395, the exit ramp, and shooting it over the French. And now with IPG Photonics being built there, and that area continuing to grow, and we have Ramco and that area being cleared, and everybody always talks about the bottleneck in Webster. They're going to see if people remember and if it's even worth doing again. So I know Rich Carmignani's been banging that drum now for at least 15 years that we shouldn't abandon that idea of maybe taking exit 3 and running it across the French. So who knows, maybe there's some life to there, and 10 or 15 years from now, you know, when something like that is actually built.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the final thing was the complete streets. That's the one where we're gonna need someone from economic development to actually be the lead with this, with the Board of Selectmen, and the program itself. There's a course required, and then it's, let's see, there's a Board of Selectmen policy has to be done. Then there's a sidewalk inventory, and I think one of these grants could cover the sidewalk inventory, right? Starting to assemble that.
I think so. Yes.
And then the first 400,000 is non-competitive, they just kind of give it to you. And then after 400,000, it's competitive. So, the only thing that they're gonna officially need from the Economic Development Committee would be, support letters once the application goes in from the Economic Development Committee. So at our next meeting, we'll have to see who can volunteer to do the complete streets. I know, Brian's always looking to get involved now that the mill thing seems to be taking on a life of its own. Maybe he can do that, but that's the updates that I have. Mark, you want to add anything? Anything on your mind lately as you drive around?
I have, but yeah, nothing that, that kind of sticks out. You know, like I said, I think we've got some good items on our agenda in front of us that we can certainly build on. I want to make sure that we stay focused on these topics and we don't get, you know, too broad, obviously, but all the things that we just talked about, I think are great projects that we should continue to stay focused on until they come to fruition, so to speak, so, yeah.
No, I almost forgot. Joanne did say that, I guess she's reached out to PJ at Nichols about maybe using their video conference room and video cameras, 'cause I think both you guys were gonna
Yep.
work.
I haven't heard
So-
anything from her, but, yeah,
Yeah.
I think she said at the last meeting that we could definitely use that.
And
Pam said.
So I'll follow up this with an email to PJ and just see where that stands.
Okay.
'Cause I think that's a great idea still.
Yep.
And your dynamic looks and great personality, you and Joanne, you'd be
Yeah.
future stars,
There you
TV
go.
stars of Dudley.
Exactly. Got it.
Don, do you want to add anything else?
Anything else?
All right, so I can't officially close the meeting because there is no meeting.
Right.
This never happened.
Yeah, really. We're in the twilight zone.
So Fred, I think we're done. All right? Until, I think our next meeting is, well, it's third Tuesday of February, which is about February 15th, something like that maybe? Oh, we'll post it online.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Fred. Appreciate your help.
Thanks, Fred.